With both catchers now in the lineup, this Atlanta Braves offense is showing you what could have been. We'll talk about that offense in an explosive win over the San Francisco Giants on today's episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Jake Mastroianni. You can follow me on social media at shortstopball. Check out the podcast there at LockedOn_Braves on X and Locked On Braves on Instagram. If you're new and you're watching this on YouTube, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, and leave us a comment down below. We're getting a little bit closer to 15,000 subscribers on YouTube. You can help me get one step closer to that by just hitting that little subscribe button. It's right there. Go ahead and do it while you're watching. If you're listening on the audio version, you can help out as well. Just leave me a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much for your support here of a Locked On Braves. Every little thing that you do to help the show out here and help me out as well. I do appreciate it a ton. I know time is very rare these days, and anytime you take the time to listen to me, it means a ton. So thank you so much for that. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the 9-5 win over the San Francisco Giants and this offense lately, just giving us a glimpse of what could have been and hopefully what is to come for this offense going forward. Drake Baldwin's big performance, Ronald continuing to do amazing things. We'll also get into our minor league spotlight where there could be some arms hopefully on the way to come help out this pitching staff to support this new offensive surge, and Ozuna's trade possibility increasing with some recent news as well. So all that on today's episode of Locked On Braves. They do get a 9-5 win on Monday night over the San Francisco Giants, who are in a bit of a rut right now, 6 losses in a row. And you look at the Braves run totals over the past 7 games. They've scored 6 runs, 7 runs, 4 runs, 7 runs, 9 runs, 2 runs in a sleepy Sunday game. It's his usual tradition, 9 runs on Monday. And they've done all that damage in their past 7 games. They're 4-3 in that stretch, obviously losing that Sunday game to the Cardinals where they scored 4 runs with those big rain delays, and then losing that frustrating game on Saturday to the Yankees are 2 that you feel like you let get away, and then just not scoring in that game on Sunday. But for the most part, this offense has looked like the offense we thought it could be over the last week or so. And what's one of the big changes during that stretch? Doing something that a lot of us, especially us here on Locked On Braves, have asked the team to do for over a month. Put Marcell Ozuna on the IL, which they still haven't done and should have done, but take him out of the lineup and put both catchers in there. And it has made a dramatic difference in this lineup. And also just putting those 2 guys at the top of the order too, or in the middle of the order, has done wonders for this offense right now. And look, who knows if this continues? Hopefully we'll get a chance to see the rest of the way. But for right now and for quite some time, Drake Baldwin and Sean Murphy have been 2 of your better hitters, and you've had one of them sitting on the bench every single night. And so finally, you put both of them in there, and I don't think it's a coincidence that you're seeing this offense take off and be the offense that it could be. Now it helps. You've got some resurgence from Ozzy Albies, who had 2 walks and a hit in this game as well. And he's, seems to be coming around, or at least in typical Ozzy fashion. When he gets on a hot streak, it can be a really hot streak. And maybe that's just what he's going through at the moment. But again, I think a key difference has just been putting 2 of your best hitters in the order and at the top of the order, and Drake Baldwin and Sean Murphy. And Drake Baldwin on this night, player of the game, 6 RBI, and he clears the bases in the first inning. Hayden Birdsong for the Giants just could not find the strike zone, walked the first 3 batters of the game, and Drake Baldwin gets a center cut, kind of up fastball that Drake Baldwin was just sitting on. He couldn't throw anything for a strike, but you knew if you were going to get a strike, it was going to be a 4-seam fastball, and he was just sitting on that and did not miss it, ripped it into the right center field. Gab Ronald scored from first with ease, standing up. Not the last time for the night that he scored from first base. The second one even more entertaining, but for Drake Baldwin, a big night for him and increasing the chances of him winning that NL Rookie of the Year award, which is maybe I don't want to say most important, but certainly a very important storyline for the Atlanta Braves in the second half of this season. If he can win that NL Rookie of the Year award with him being on those top 100 prospect rankings coming into the season, it would qualify the Braves for an additional draft pick next year, which is huge, not only just for drafting better talent and prospects, but also increasing your pool money in drafts, which again, we'll talk about later in this draft and how important and key that is to have that extra bonus pool money that you can work with. So big storyline in the second half for Drake Baldwin. And he is definitely helping his chances with a big 6 RBI game on Monday. Now, one of those a little bit of a gift. There was some stuff going on in the outfield tonight. Guys could not see the baseball. Some weird stuff happening on defense, mostly for the Giants. Some good defense on the Braves side of things, which I'll talk about here in a second. Now, the rest of the offense, obviously, we're very keyed in on Michael Harris and Ozzie Albies the rest of the way. I talked about Ozzie, 2 walks, rather. Great to see. Also had a hit in this one. His other at bat was a strikeout, and it was a bad Ozzie strikeout where he goes up there, swings at 3 pitches out of the zone, and you hate to see that. But again, still seeing some good things from Ozzie. Unfortunate night for Michael Harris. He goes 0-4 with a strikeout and grounds into a double play. So with obviously not the night that you're hoping for Michael Harris, but he did have the double play. It was a 109.4 mile per hour ground ball that he had, or he had into 2 double plays tonight. He also had, but both of them were hard hits, one at a 111.2 and one at 109.4 that had a 640 expected batting average, and the other one a 670 expected batting average. So some good contact there for Michael Harris, just not getting those results. And then got to mention Ronald. I mean, we talked about this on the postcast, me and Lindsay. You go back and give that a listen from last night. But in 3 of the past 4 games, Ronald's done something just incredible. Whether it was last Friday night with the throw that he had from the outfield, whether it was on Sunday hitting a 450-foot shot. He's hit more 450-plus foot home runs since 2018 than anyone in baseball. And then on Monday night, he scores from first on a single. And Lindsay pointed this out. When the outfielder gets to the ball, he is 6 steps away from third base, and he scores. And just taking advantage, knowing, the outfielder wasn't going to be, fully committed to getting that ball in quickly, not thinking, kind of like the runner on Friday, not thinking Ronald was even going to take a chance at throwing him out at third. And I think Ronald's probably thinking there's no way he thinks he's going to score from first on this, and he's probably going to lob the ball back in. And he was right, and Ronald's able to score. I mean, again, I want to reiterate what we said on the postcast, but I'm going to. There are a lot of great players in baseball. Aaron Judge can hit home runs with the best of them. Shohei Ohtani can, is a great hitter and can also pitch and throw 100. It's incredible. But not everybody can do those 3 things that I just talked about with Ronald. Not everybody can score from first on a single to center field. Not everybody can throw a 300-plus foot dart from the right field corner to nail a guy at third base. Not everybody can hit a 440-foot blast off Devin Williams to dead center field. He just does things that nobody else can do and is a complete package. And please, just give him a blank check. Give him whatever he wants. I need him here as a Brave for life. So that was the offense for the Atlanta Braves and the highlights. But those were the only highlights. I talked about the defense. Nick Allen kind of got lucked out on a ball, a chopper to Matt Chapman at third that should have ended the inning. Kind of just took off on Matt Chapman, shot past his glove, and got 2 RBI on that. And you also had the 2 plays in left field. Well, it's actually the center fielder for the Giants, I guess, that had the beat on his and just lost track of the ball. Profar lost track of the ball out there. So some weird stuff happening. But you also had Nick Allen just continuing to do spectacular things. Look, he didn't turn this double play. But as somebody who loves shortstop defense, just the turn that he made on that double play and the transfer and the quick release, just that alone had me out of my seat because it was just so amazing. He continues to do just unbelievable things over there. Matt Olson with just that over-the-shoulder catch that he makes look so easy as he was running, basically high-fiving Ronald that far deep into right field. Nacho continues to make some good plays over there. Really hasn't been as impressive with the bat, but I've been impressed with his glove since getting called up. He's probably going to go back down whenever Riley's ready, which may be on Tuesday. But the defense looks great. I've talked about this over the weekend. Defense has been really good. You might have 3 Gold Glovers in Olson, Allen, and Michael Harris. The offense is starting to come around. The starting pitching, even with the injuries, has been good. Bryce Elder in this one, 5 innings, 3 earned. You'll take that. It's the best bad start that he can have. It's really been the bullpen that kind of blew things up on Saturday. It's been that one piece that's been missing here for the Braves, whatever that might be. The offense early on, bullpen at times, starting pitching, injuries, defense has pretty much been there all year long. But if they could ever just put it all together, it'd be the team that we imagine. Again, I'm afraid it's a little bit too late for the offensive changes that they've made right now to turn things around. But we're going to try to enjoy the second half as much as possible. Again, still holding out whatever hopes left if the Braves can get back into this, but also looking futuristic as well as what does this mean for 2026 and beyond. That'll be a lot of our focus here the rest of the way. And now that the offense seems to be turning a corner, there could be some help on the way on the pitching side of things at AAA. Next, we'll take a look at our weekly minor league spotlight and some of the top performances at AAA. We'll do that here next. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're into baseball like we are here at Locked On Braves, maybe you're about the golf action happening out on the greens or high-stakes soccer action happening, I guess, somewhere. FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? And with FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. You can use FanDuel to track your favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to get in on the action. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events, even games where your team might be completely out of it. Whether you're placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet right into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like you're part of the action. However, please make sure you visit FanDuel.com/playsafe for tools and resources to help make sure you stay in control of the way you play and that you play responsibly. But if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Again, new to FanDuel, bet $5, win, get $150 in bonus bets. It's that simple. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Well, as always, thank you so much for making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. Go check out Locked On MLB for your second listen of the day, solely getting caught up with all the action happening around Major League Baseball. And the guys at MLB Game Night do a fantastic job of bringing you the biggest highlights from each and every night. And if you're not already, make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Sports Atlanta or right here at Locked On Braves. You're also going to get the postcast with me and Lindsay. So a lot of great podcasts to follow just right here alone in your Locked On Braves podcast feed. Now let's get into our minor league spotlight. Not a lot of action last week as well, as they took a break for the All-Star Game 2. So only 3 games for most teams. Some teams only got in 2 games over the weekend, but certainly were some highlights on the pitching side of things. We'll start at Gwinnett like we always do, where Eddie Leonard, 4 for 11 over the weekend, 2 doubles, 2 home runs, and a walk. Big weekend there. Jose Devers only played in 1 game for Gwinnett over the weekend, but he went 3 for 3 with a walk and a stolen base. David Fletcher, yes, that David Fletcher. He's still hanging around here, still getting a paycheck. Don't know what's going to become of him. I guess Major League Baseball is just waiting for him to just quietly fall out of Major League Baseball. But David Fletcher goes 3 for 8 with a home run over the weekend. Jared Kelenic goes 2 for 12 with a double, no walks, 3 strikeouts, and a stolen base. I mentioned him, and I do a lot of times just to kind of keep people informed. It hasn't been good, by the way, but I'm curious if the Braves find a way to move him in a deal at the deadline, just to move on, to kind of close that chapter, which just seems like one of AA's bad moves here, going in and paying a lot of money to get Jared Kelenic. He has not gotten any better at the AAA level so far. Carlos Rodriguez, he has fallen off a cliff since we talked about him possibly replacing Michael Harris in center field. So sorry about that, C-Rod. On the pitching side, though, there was a lot to get excited about. J.R. Ritchie in his AAA debut goes 6 innings, allows just 5 hits and 1 walk. I can do the math on that. That's a 1.00 whip there, which is really good. Did hit a batter. That doesn't count towards your whip, though. 3 earned runs on 2 home runs. Don't love that, but 6 strikeouts. Overall, a really good debut. And from those I know who watched it, I unfortunately didn't get a chance to take a look at it yet. Sound like he started out kind of shaky and then really settled in. I don't think it's going to be too much longer before we see J.R. Ritchie get an opportunity, unless the Braves just don't want to press that button and start his clock in what feels like a lost season. I got to imagine we're going to see J.R. Ritchie get a chance soon. We're probably going to see Hurston Waldrop get a chance soon after the trade deadline. He pitched 5 innings last week, only gave up 2 hits, did walk 3, but just 1 earned run and 5 strikeouts. Blake Burkhalter, however, not as good as those two guys over the weekend. Those were your three starters, and two of them really good, and Richie and Waldrop. But Burkhalter, 5 innings, 5 hits, 4 walks, 3 earned runs, and 3 strikeouts. Daysbel Hernandez goes 2 innings with Gwinnett over the weekend. No hits, no walks, no earned, 4 strikeouts. And it just makes me even more angry after what happened on Saturday. I'd have loved to have an arm like Daysbel Hernandez in the Braves bullpen, but he's in Gwinnett because he has options. And it's just so frustrating to see one of your best arms, one of your best bullpen arms in the minor leagues instead of helping you win a game. Just highly frustrating. I'm sure Daysbel will be back as soon as possible. But again, would have been nice to have him on Saturday, and good to see him as well, not have any walks in those 2 outings. Only thing really holding him back. And good to see him get the strikeouts, even at the big league level this year. He hasn't been getting the strikeouts at the normal rate you see from Daysbel, so that's good too. Like I said, he'll likely be back very soon. And then Hayden Harris, 1 inning over the weekend, no hits, no walks, did hit about it, but no earned, and 3 strikeouts. Look, I don't know how he does it. It's a low 90s fastball, but apparently has some really good rise on it, and hitters just can't square it up. And the results speak for themselves. Hayden Harris just gets it done. And again, I think he's got to be somebody that you at least showcase this year and see what he can do for the future. Now, down at Columbus, David McKay, one of the bright spots on the offensive side this year for the Braves minor leaguers, goes 4 for 10 with a walk this past week. But that's really it on the hitting side at Columbus. On the pitching side, Landon Harper, 5 innings, 6 hits, 2 walks, 3 earned, and 6 strikeouts. Ian Mejia, 4 2/3, 3 hits, 1 walk, 3 earned, 4 strikeouts. And Lucas Braun, 3 2/3, 4 hits, 3 walks, 5 earned, and 2 strikeouts. So not a lot of great happening at Columbus this past weekend. For Rome, though, on the hitting side, Mason Guerra, who got moved up to Rome recently after a good start to the year at Augusta, goes 4 for 9 with 2 doubles. Another, kind of later bat taken in last year's draft that's having a good season, maybe a good find there. Justin Giannis goes 4 for 7 with a double and a walk, and Ambiorus Taveras goes 3 for 8 with a walk. And then on the pitching side, I've mentioned this guy almost every week, Jacob Kroger, 5 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 1 earned, and 3 strikeouts, a 10th round pick in 2024. We're going to talk about draft picks here in a minute too, talk about some of the signings, and don't ignore those guys in the later part of the draft for the Braves. They do such a great job with pitching development and identifying guys who have something that they can work with, and maybe Jacob Kroger is one of those guys. 17 games this year, 7 starts, 61 1/3 innings, a 2.05 ERA, a 0.99 whip, and 65 strikeouts in those 61 1/3 innings. So maybe a guy to keep an eye on. At Augusta, Leiker Figueroa, Leiker, not a name that I've said all year long, goes 3 for 6 with a double and a walk and a stolen base. I think Augusta was the team that only played 2 games last week. Owen Carey goes 2 for 8 with a double and 2 walks, and Luis Quinipa 2 hits in 2 games as well. On the pitching side, I'm sorry I did it, but you can blame me for this. Raven Antonio, who had been fantastic all year long and a rising prospect in the Braves system, I go and pick him up in my deep dynasty fantasy baseball league. In his very next outing, he gives up 9 runs on 10 hits and a walk, 2 hit batters in 3 1/3 innings. Does strike out 5, but man, it was his worst start of the year, and it came right after I picked him up in my deep dynasty league. So I'm sorry about that, Raven. Hopefully you get back on track. I actually have a pretty good track record with taking Braves pitchers in that league, so hopefully he'll be okay, as he's been a very bright spot for the Braves development system this year. Jeremy Reyes, another promising arm that I also have in my dynasty league. He went 6 innings, 3 hits, no walks, 3 earned, and 8 strikeouts. So that's looking pretty good. Owen Hagman, 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, 3 earned, and 4 strikeouts. And then Justin Melitello went 2 innings, no hits, no walks, no earned, and 5 strikeouts. So some pretty good performances there at Augusta outside of my guy Antonio. At the rookie level, the FCL team for the Atlanta Braves, Jose Perdomo, back-to-back good weeks, and maybe the young kid's finally starting to figure it out and put it together. 7 for 22 with 4 walks and 2 strikeouts, so better plate discipline there, 2 stolen bases. He had a 5-hit game on the 19th. He's now slashing 283, 345, just a 302 slug, but again, very young. Hopefully the power will come, but that's his slash line in July. 283 average, 345 on base, 5 walks to 10 strikeouts. So certainly encouraging there for Jose Perdomo. Diego Benitez there at the FCL level, 3 for 11 with a double, 5 walks, and a strikeout. And on the pitching side, top pick from last year, Ethan Bagwell goes 4 innings, 4 hits, one walk, no earned, and 8 strikeouts. And then Drew Hackenberg still rehabbing there, went 4 2/3, 3 hits, 1 walk, no earned, 7 strikeouts. Good to see him put a good outing together, as he had a couple of rough ones there as he works his way back. And then finally, Shea Shoneman went 3 innings, no hits, no walks, no earned, and 7 strikeouts. So very impressive stuff there at the Florida Complex League. And then finally, in the Dominican Summer League, Diego Torrens, 4 for 14, two triples, 5 walks, 5 strikeouts, and 3 stolen bases. Has a .393 on-base percentage and 24 stolen bases does Diego Torrens. Been very, very impressive there. Roddy Reyes did not start this last week. Not sure why there. Maybe just taking a week off. Whatever the case may be, but Diego Torrens with a good week, and a lot of the Braves international prospects there, at least the top two, Jose Perdomo and Diego Torrens, both having good weeks. And for Perdomo, back-to-back good weeks. Torrens has been good pretty much every week except for one so far this season. So good to see that. Need those two guys to really pop off. All right, next, we're going to get into a lot of news to talk about. We got draft pick signings to talk about, Ozuna trade possibly looming, and the Speedway Classic as well. A lot coming up here next. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is a missed opportunity and money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency, like a burst pipe. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? Of course not. You were going through the phone book, if those things still existed, looking for the next one. And that's why having a reliable business line is so important. And that's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. And do you juggle 2 phones just to keep businesses and personal calls separate? OpenPhone solves that instantly. Your whole team can share one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. No more wondering who got that call, who got this call. You know exactly who's handling each and every call that comes in. And the AI agent handles after-hours calls as well, answers common questions, and captures leads, so you never miss a customer again. And right now, OpenPhone is offering Locked On Braves listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnMLB. That's OpenPhone.com/LockedOnMLB. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Let's jump into the news, because we've had a lot of it here over the weekend that didn't get a chance to get to. Draft pick signings. We've had a lot come in recently, a lot at the top of the draft. The Braves signed their first round pick in South Assine to $2.6 million, roughly $1.3 million under slot value. They signed Alex Lodis to nearly $1.3 million, a little over $200,000 under slot value. They signed Cody Miller to almost $300,000, nearly $500 under slot value. So their first 3 picks in the draft, all heavily under slots. Even their first pick in Tate Southasine, well under slot value. And reason for that, their 4th pick in the draft, high schooler Briggs McKenzie, gets almost $3 million, almost or over $2.4 million over slot, more money than their first round pick Tate Southasine got. So Briggs McKenzie, at least in terms of money, is your big ticket item in this draft. Now, they also continue to save in this draft. Dixon Williams got nearly $42,000 under slot. Landon Bottleshees got $41,000 under slot. Zach Royce, almost $68,000 under slot. Coder Lavas went $200,000 under slot. Logan Braunschweig went almost $200,000 under slot, and Cade Woods $186,000 under slot. Basically, they saved a little over $2.8 million on their first, second, third, fifth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, and 11th picks, and spit big on picks 4 and 6, which were Briggs McKenzie and Connor Essenberg, who got almost $800,000 over his slot value, signing for nearly $1.2 million. So the Braves lock up the main portion of their draft. They'll obviously get the rest of these done. Slot value really only counts for the first 10 rounds, and that's why you're seeing a lot of these signings already. But the Braves maneuvering, you could kind of see it coming in before you saw the Briggs McKenzie signing, how much money the Braves were saving on these picks. You knew they were going to have to save up big, in order to get Briggs McKenzie, and they did. And as I said in my post-draft podcast, it's a very risky draft and strategy where you're basically taking some undervalued picks instead of going for, maybe the best pick at that spot, but you're trying to spread it out. So instead of taking one big risk with your first pick, you're spreading it out and taking 3 big risks, because high schoolers are risk. And a lot of you will like these. I know the guys over at Peach State Prospects, they're going to have their podcast coming out doing the draft recap, I think on Tuesday. So I can't wait to listen to that. I'd encourage you to go give that a listen too, as those guys are very in tune with the MLB draft and these prospects. But I just can tell you, high schoolers are very risky. You do not know what they are going to turn into. You hope, you dream, but you just don't know when you're taking 17 and 18-year-olds how they're going to develop. A lot is going to change between now and the time they get to the big league level. But they at least do spread out the risk a little bit. Taking a high schooler in the first round in South Racine, spending big on Briggs McKenzie, another high schooler, and then spending big on Essenberg as well. But this draft's really going to come down to those 3 guys and how do those 3 high schoolers develop. And look, it just one of them pops off and becomes an all-star type player, which is a bit lofty, but becomes for McKenzie, if he's a middle top of the rotation type of guy, or if South Racine or Essenberg become everyday players and perhaps, all-star level types of talent, then yeah, it's a great draft and it's a great strategy. We just won't know that for 4 to 5 years. So it's really hard to even judge what this draft could potentially be. Obviously, you like low D's and a guy that has a low floor you think can get to the big leagues. Outside of that, Landon Beidelshees, I think, is a guy that could probably be in the bullpen pretty quickly. I don't have many expectations for the rest of these guys, but don't ever put it past the Braves development system and what they can do either. As we just talked about with Jacob Kroger and the work that they've done with him, they certainly do a great job of developing these guys, especially on the pitching side of things. But again, I think a lot of this draft is going to come down to those 3 guys, those 3 high schoolers, and to one of them, at least one of them, pop up. You get all 3 of them. I mean, yeah, it's a fantastic draft, but I think you're just really hoping that at least one of them becomes a pretty decent stud, and that a couple of these guys maybe get up and make an impact at the big league level. But that wasn't the only news over the weekend, and the only news on Monday. Ozuna basically said that he'd leave any decision on a trade to his agent and Alex Anthopoulos, essentially hinting at that he would not veto a trade, which is pretty big for the Atlanta Braves, because I was curious if Ozuna would even consider that. And maybe it's what's happened here recently where he's essentially just been benched. If he were still playing every day, would he rather just, ride things out in Atlanta? But the fact that he is getting benched and he's not playing right now, does that increase the likelihood of him being more open to a trade? Either way, it sounds like he is, that he wouldn't block any type of trade. So that's huge for the Atlanta Braves, because again, it's not necessarily anything against Ozuna. It's just he's not part of the future. Unless the Braves, bring him back on a 10, 11, $12 million deal next year, he's not part of the future. And you want to see what you have with Baldwin and Murphy both playing, one of them DHing, how that's going to work out. It's just better for the Braves the rest of this season if Ozuna's not here. And again, that's nothing against him and the player. It's just better for the future of this team if he's not there the rest of the way, so that you can see what it looks like without a just permanent DH every day. So hopefully the Braves can work something out there, and hopefully somebody's interested enough to take him on. You're not getting any real value back in return there. But part of this, too, is that the Braves added catcher Sandy Leon to the big league roster, DFA'd Stuart Fairchild, and this just increases the likelihood and chances of Sean Murphy and Drake Baldwin playing every day now that you have a third catcher. And what this also means, too, is going forward, so next year, if that's going to be the plan, the Braves are probably going to carry an extra catcher, which not as big of a deal with the DH and the expanded 26-man roster these days. But it does kind of, again, allude to the likelihood of Ozuna getting traded, and maybe traded relatively soon. There's also some new merchandise out there for the Speedway Classic. If you're into that, the Braves have flames on the bill. I'm not a big fan of that. I think it looks I saw somebody in the comments on social media say that it looks like a gas station hat, and I couldn't agree with that anymore. It's exactly what I thought when I looked at it. But hey, don't let me don't let me turn you away from buying that if you're into it. I just was not the biggest of fans. The customized logos on the helmets I think look pretty cool, and I think the jerseys look pretty cool too. But I'll be honest, I had forgotten this was even a thing. But we'll see the Speedway Classic coming up here pretty soon. I think I'm really not sure, but just wanted to at least highlight that. And in case you were interested in it. Pitching matchups for Tuesday, you got Landon Roop going up against Davis Daniel. Root faced the Braves here recently, went 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 walks, 3 earned, 2 strikeouts. Thinker baller who does a good job of missing barrels and getting ground balls. He will walk you, but just 8 home runs allowed on the year. So it's a pitcher that the Braves are probably going to have to do a good job being patient, taking their walks like they did on Monday night, but also trying to string some hits together like they did on Monday night. So we'll see if they can keep that going. Overall on the year, though, a 3.27 ERA, a 4.04 xERA tells you that he's probably been a little bit lucky, obviously pitching in a very pitcher-friendly ballpark. Now, as for Davis Daniel, was good over 4 innings in that lone start that he had with the Braves this year against St. Louis. Did have 2 games with the Braves, but just 1 start. Got cut short due to rain, unfortunately, because like I said, he was throwing the ball really well. 3.52 ERA this year, 1.25 whip at AAA in 15 games, 14 starts. Braves have him throwing his splitter a lot more this year. Seems to be rather effective for him. CJ talked about it on the podcast. You haven't given that a listen, please go back and do so. We talked about, had him on over the All-Star break, and he talked about the induced vertical break on Davis Daniel's fastball. And it's pretty much the ride on the fastball up in the zone that kind of gets on hitters quickly. Major league average is around 16. He averaged 17 inches of induced vertical break in that start against St. Louis and maxed out at 21 inches of induced vertical break, which is really, really good. And because it's just 90 miles per hour, but you have that induced vertical break on it, it makes it play up a lot. And then you throw a splitter off of that, and it's a pretty good little mix there that Davis Daniel has. So we'll see what he's able to do and if he can stick in the rotation. All right, that will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Again, make sure you subscribe here to Locked On Braves, where you'll also get the postcast with me and Lindsay. So a lot of good stuff in your Locked On Braves podcast feeds. Follow us on social media at shortstopball, at LockedOn_Braves. And make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast. And we will talk to you next.